Hey there, readers and adventurers.
And welcome to Becca's Book Club Adventure. I'm Becca.
And I'm Matt. Thanks for joining us as we escape reality.
And wander through the pages of Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair and determine if it's bookshelf worthy.
But I guess before we jump into that, we're going to need to pause and acknowledge the sponsor of today's episode.
That's right. This week's episode is brought to you by protein powder. Mix it in a smoothie, overnight oats, or slurp it down with some water. Helps you meet your protein goals for the day while regretting every choice you made along the way. Side effects include terrible burps, the worst farts, and sudden stomach upset. Use in dire need only.
Becca, point of inquiry. Personal experience for yourself or from Kevin?
Maybe a little bit more from myself. So Kevin and I got really into weightlifting a few years ago. And we were using some protein powder to help get our protein goals. And one day, Kevin sat down and he calculated how much protein powder we would need for an extended period of time and set up an Amazon subscription, which was the absolute worst thing we ever did. Obviously, you get protein from so many different sources, and protein powder is pretty mid as hell. So, anywho, we have a huge stock of protein powder after I asked him to cancel it multiple times, and he thought he did, and he did not. But finally, we have canceled it, but we still have a lifetime supply of protein powder.
I'm not going to lie. Once I learned that story, I stopped feeling bad about maybe having a scoop if I steal a workout in your basement.
Please, anytime you come, have a scoop, 2, 10, it's fine. Go home with a 5-pound bag. It's fine.
Oh, no, I do not want to get divorced.
So then you agree with me. Smelly farts.
I mean, depends on the protein powder. But yeah. So, all right. Now that we've paid the advertising bill, let's sit back and pretend the world's not on fire as we discover Mountains Made of Glass.
Okay, so we talked about this book a little bit when we were talking about my recent trip that I took. So I needed a book to read while I was sitting in the JFK airport for 6 hours. So in anticipation of this trip, on top of the flights, the 6-hour layover, I downloaded several books to my iPad to read while we were out there. And I knew it needed to be something that was interesting enough that I didn't fall asleep, but also easy enough that if I had to put it down in between doing flight shenanigans stuff and pick it up mid-chapter, I could figure out what was going on and not be too upset. So, a little bit about the book. It was published in 2023. It was listed on Hoopla as having 240 pages. So I love reading off of my public library apps. I use Hoopla and I use Libby. I mostly used Hoopla at the beginning when I first started this journey. Did Libby a lot last year because they have a lot of romantasy on there. And then I like Libby or Hoopla a little bit better because of the different ways that the book renting goes. So that made it really convenient for this trip. So when you're in the app, it gives you a little intro line to determine if you're going to read it or not before you read the book. And the intro line is, "Could you love me?" he whispered. The question stole my breath and burned my lungs in the silence that followed. So I read into the book, and the dedication in the book is my absolute favorite. It's for the fuck of it.
Okay, so I would have read this book specifically for the dedication as well. That's gold. That's there's a couple of things that I want to unpack about what you just said. I know that you guys were flying to Norway and maybe your your flight options were limited, but 6-hour layover? Are you all crazy?
Yeah, so at first we were supposed to fly to Atlanta and then to JFK from Columbus. And then, surprise, there are direct flights from Columbus to JFK. But because of the timing of all of it, yeah, the layover was 6 hours.
And so I know when you were packing, I was the one that suggested to you that you should use an e-reader because you could like it's a lot easier to pack like 10 books that way than trying to pack 10 actual books, which is usually what I do. Like my last trip to Quebec, I took um, Queen of Shadows and Tower of Dawn with me, and I put
You.
both of them into individual gallon size Ziploc bags so that I knew nothing would spill on them because they're yours. And like that was half my suitcase.
Yeah.
So like I wish I could get into the e-reader thing, and I downloaded an app onto my phone, and I just can't. Like there's something like maybe it's better on the tablet. I don't own a tablet.
Mm.
Um but it doesn't look like I'm looking at paper, and maybe I'm just too old. Am I just too old, Becca?
I wouldn't say that. I think that's a fair assessment. So, this is the first time I actually used my phone to read a book. I usually use my iPad exclusively. And on my iPad, there is a setting for like a soft white background that looks a lot more like a page of paper with dark text on it. And it's like a usually brownish colored text. But then on top of my iPad, I have a screen protector that's mimics the texture of paper. So then it just makes it feel a little more realistic.
Okay, so I gotta up my tech. I guess that's okay.
Or instead of even getting an iPad, I would go like actual e-reader that's designed for that.
I think I'm falling in love with somebody. So, I mean, spoiler alert for all of you listeners out there. We have show notes that we like look at while we talk, and Becca actually wrote the first line of this book. Could you love me? He whispered. The question stole my breath and burned my lungs in the silence that followed. And it's just like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Like, so, okay.
So the
For the
book.
fuck of it, you
So
gotta set this. You gotta tell me about this. You got
right?
Okay. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start like with the world,
We'll start with the
characters?
world. We'll start with the
Okay, let's start
very
with the world.
first chapter, right?
Cool.
So make no mistake, when you read this book, you know it's probably a Beauty and the Beast retelling. She's not trying to hide anything with it.
Oh
But the
no.
way the first chapter opens, you're like, I know exactly what's going on and also what the fuck is going on. So we open into a classic fairy tale environment, right? Village on the side of a forest. The forest is known for playing tricks on the people of the town. And our main character is an outcast. She lives on the very edge between town and the forest. Every few years, the townspeople have to make some type of sacrifice to the forest to minimize the trickery that the forest plays on this town. And specifically, more often than not, the trickery that happens is the well goes dry. And so
Is
our
the
main character,
trickery like from anybody? Like, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I'm thinking of like the traditional fae, like Irish fae that are like tricksters. And is it like that, or is it just like you didn't pay the tax and something bad's going to happen to the town?
it's the Irish fae or some type of thing that's stealing the water from the well, not a tax issue.
I like that. All right, I like that. Keep going. All right,
So our main character is Gisela, and she's described as being the reason for why she has no parents and her sister being dead,
that's heavy.
right? We don't know what she did, but we know she did something bad to her sister and her parents died later on.
Can I just point out that the opening line of this book that you wrote is like really spicy?
Yes, it is very spicy.
We get a main female character whose name is Gisela.
Gisela, yeah.
Yeah, it's say that first syllable again, Becca.
I'd like to point out, I didn't write this book before you say that again. I picked this book to read, and I would read it again.
Okay, so all right, so you said Gisela, like she's the cause for having no parents and siblings.
Yep.
That's heavy as shit. All right, keep
Yep.
going.
She's alone in this house, and her friend comes kind of sort of over to say hi, is what Giselle thinks, while she's doing this menial farm work. I can't remember exactly which task she's doing, but she, has to run this whole property by herself. She ain't got nobody to help her. And this friend says, hey, the town really needs you. And as Giselle starts to back up, the whole town is surrounding her because she has been selected to be the offering.
Oh, womp, womp, womp.
Because obviously she has no family. So what difference does it make? She'll be offered to the forest. The townspeople will be fine.
Okay.
And of course, in classic Beauty and the Beast style, the town hunk says he'll save her if she marries him. And she says, fuck off. I'd rather die. So the townspeople throw her into the well where there's this frog down there that's been chirping. And that's why they know that the well is dry. And they decided that the frog needs eliminated.
Really? The frog is the... Okay, sure.
Frog is the problem.
I'm kind of... Does anybody else kind of... Okay, so Beauty and the Beast. I love Beauty and the Beast. All right. In case anybody cares, my wife and I love all the Disney movies. One year for... I can't remember if it was her birthday or our anniversary or Christmas, I bought the 60 years of Disney DVD collection because I was super scared that wokeness or whatever was going to start canceling all of the Disney movies on streaming. Anyway, so original Beauty and the Beast, great. The remake with Emma Watson, I Will Die on This Hill, awesome. But the way you are phrasing this with fuck off, right? I kind of wish the Emma Watson remake was R-rated and she really told Gaston what for.
Right? Because Bella's described as being sweet, petite, nice, just very introverted, and just doesn't want anyone. This main character is I don't want anyone from anyone. Fuck off.
All right. I'm down to clown. I think that's what your brother would say. I'm down to clown.
So this is the first chapter, maybe the first half of the first chapter. So before we even get there, this author, prime time, man, Scarlett St. Clair, I'm a big fan. She gives us a map. She gives us a glossary of creatures. So you already get to know what you think that she thinks these things look like. And a list of the 7 brothers in the 7 kingdoms.
Okay, sure. 7 brothers and 7 kingdoms. You got it.
Right? I'm like, oh, thank God. So when I'm an idiot halfway through this book, I can flip back and be like, what's a brownie again?
Okay. But she's stuck in the bottom of a well.
She's stuck in the bottom of the well with this frog. And she's tasked with killing this frog. And
it's a frog.
It's a frog.
Okay.
So she's
Are we talking like a grizzly bear-sized frog?
Nope. Little regular frog. This isn't a Princess and the Frog kind of situation where we're going to kiss it. She's like, well, I'll just try to leave the well and just leave the frog alone because fuck these villagers. This isn't my problem. This ain't my well. So she's climbing out and she keeps falling and she can't get out of this well. Because, obviously. So the frog starts climbing out of the well, and so she follows the frog's path. And watches his foothills and is able to make it all the way out of the well with the frog. So this is kind of a winning situation, right?
Hell yeah.
She gets to escape. Frog gets to escape. Maybe it's all fine. Well, the fucking frog decides to jump back into the well.
Okay. Does he make it?
He does not. So fearing that the villagers are going to catch her escape, she quickly grabs the frog by its back leg. And she's threatening to cage the frog. But she's got the frog. She slips on some ice. She falls down and drops the frog again. And he goes back to the well again.
Why did he climb out of it? Okay. All right. Stupid questions. Dumb questions. Keep going.
He goes, yeah. We'll find out later, right? And so she picks up a rock. She goes running towards the frog. She smashes the frog in. She's pissed. She knows she fucked up. She's probably cursed. So you end chapter 1 with the main character going to bed and praying for her own death.
But that's chapter 1, so clearly she ain't gonna die.
Exactly. So obviously she wakes up the next day. And she's startled when she wakes up by an elf. She goes to find her knife underneath her pillow to attack the elf, and it disappears out of her hand.
Okay, hashtag magic. That's cool.
Right? Yep. So we're starting to get a magic system that's coming into play finally. And this whole squabble ensues. She tries to track down her axe to fight these elves. And, after a few squabble-ish, we figured out there's 5 elves inside her house right now. 5 elven brothers.
Okay. I think I know where this is going. Okay.
Yep. They're very pissed that she killed their 6th brother.
That dude wasn't too smart, was he?
No. Why would you be? Yeah. So he must have been a frog.
I originally was like, why did the frog jump back into the well? But I'm like, it's a frog. That's a really stupid question. And now I kind of want to go back and be like, why did the elven leader dude in frog form make these choices? They seem like really poor choices.
Right?
Okay. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
So the most vocal of these 5 brothers finally goes, all right, well, we have a sentence prepared for you. You have to go live with our 7th brother.
Who is a beast, am I right?
Of course, right? So
okay, yeah.
His name is the Thorn Prince. She's getting all snarky. She's like, he can't be as bad as you all. And they're like, he's literally a beast. Go have fun. Bye. And she's whisked away by magic and shows up in his lobby.
Okay, so Gisela. Is this like a Beauty and the Beast? Like Gisela is literally just a normal girl who ends up taming the beast, or is she not like other girls and she has like powers?
Nah, she normal.
Good. Okay, we're gonna keep it the classic 5. What's the spice level like in the book?
I'd say a good 3.
Good 3?
A good 3. Nothing too crazy, but for 240 pages, there's a decent chunk of fun.
So that sounds like some pretty interesting setup. I think, I'm not going to lie, some of it sounds a little forced from a writer's perspective and makes me think like, why did you make these literary choices, Miss Author? But it's a really unique concept. So like if the forest is like playing tricks, like immediately, without reading the rest of the book, in the first chapter, you're just sort of like, okay, is like the forest evil, or do we have like an anathema type of situation here? Things like that. And then obviously from watching Beauty and the Beast, you know that the beast's realm that has been cursed is like twisted trees and scary, and so like good visuals. I think I would be interested in reading this. I'm assuming it took you all of like 4 hours.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
I'm down for a Saturday afternoon read.
Yep, I definitely finished it on the way out there. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 on Storygraph. Okay, so we've talked about this before. I read for the vibes, right? So like, it took me 6 hours to finish this book, and I read it start to finish basically in one sitting. So that's cool for me. It's adventurous, a little dark, right? Our main character is spunky and just really fucking over the world. And it's very fast-paced. The book was very character-driven. I found her to be lovable. I also found the main male interest to be interesting and pretty dynamic for a very short story. Which I guess you could say it was also plot-driven, but I don't really know where you draw the line between character-driven and plot-driven. But the whole point of the novel, once she gets deported to this magical realm, her goal is to go back because she has to guess the Prince of Thorns' name. Because if he forgets his name, he will cease to exist. And if she's on his property while he ceases to exist, she will cease to exist too.
Oh, this is pretty high stakes.
Yes. So she's like, all right, gotta guess your name and get the fuck out of here.
So that's a little different than a cursed rose. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yep.
So, okay. So obviously, have you read any other adaptations of Beauty and the Beast?
I mean, ACOTAR, but I think that's
I
pretty
think
much
I
it.
have a couple in the basement. I think one is called Belle, and I think the other one is called Beauty, and they're retellings. And one thing I struggled with reading those, I bought them for your sister, but I ended up reading them because I'm
The romantasy reader.
yeah. Anyways, when you know the story, sometimes it's hard to read it in a different way. Did you find this one like engaging enough? Like the changes were different enough that like you wanted to keep reading, or was it like all foretold and you just knew what was going to happen and you were sequestered on a plane?
She has lots of different elements in the book that she incorporates. And because the character feels like she's just ready to escape and actually does make many attempts to escape, you kind of get the sense that this isn't actually going to end in a fairy tale ending the way that Disney has portrayed Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. So let me ask this. Is it bookshelf worthy or is it only Kindle worthy?
I probably Kindle worthy.
Kindle worthy? All right. I am going to go ahead and see if my library has it. If it's 4.5 out of 5, it's definitely worth reading,
Yes.
but maybe not buying.
Yes. I want to read more from this author because I think she has a whole line of story retellings, and the way that she sees the world was really intriguing. So I would like to see how she tells Cinderella, how she tells Sleeping Beauty, and that kind of scenario. I will say it's an unfair question because I don't really have much bookshelf space left due to all the science textbooks.
Sure.
Apparently can't throw out. But one day, maybe.
Do you have any other thoughts, or do you think we should bring this review to a close?
Think we should bring it to a close, but I will say I would actually reread this book. It was that enjoyable, and I'm not generally a rereader.
All right, well, we know what Becca's going to read if Crescent City goes to shit. All right, listeners. If any of you readers or adventurers out there have read Mountains Made of Glass or like any other Scarlett St. Clair books, you should definitely hit us up. Clearly, Becca wants to read others, so you should give her your opinion. Do you agree, disagree with Becca's thoughts? Like, what was your experience? What's your opinion? We sure would love to know.
And you can email us at bookclubbybecca@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram at Becca's Book Club Adventure. It's all one word, all lowercase.
And if you haven't read anything by Scarlett St. Clair, you could just send us some feedback or other book recommendations or anything else. And if you do, we might just feature you on next week's episode.
Speaking of which, next time on Becca's Book Club Adventure, we'll be diving into the next set of chapters, which I believe is 8 to 20, from The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas.
So until next time, keep drinking the protein powder and reading them books.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.